Okay.
Okay. Welcome everybody. Warm welcome to Ernst Hilger, collector, gallerist. We are really glad that he shared his collection with us. Before we start the talk, this exhibition, this talk, this event is in the context of our current exhibition, Artist, Collector, Public, and as well is also a part of Art Weekend program. It's 3 days in Ljubljana. It's the first one, and it's really amazing how many events are here today and tomorrow and after tomorrow. So before we start the talk, let me introduce Ernst a little bit. And you correct me, please, if I will be not...
As long as you don't say too many good things.
Okay. So, Ernst is a Vienna-based gallerist and collector of contemporary art, 20th century art, contemporary art, and he was president of Federation of European Art Galleries Association, and then, for many years, a member and advisor of numerous art fair committees, for example, Art Basel, and president of Association of Austrian Modern Art Galleries. And he helped also establish the role of the galleries as partners of museums and collectors. He established and owns Gallery Ernst Hilger, Hilger Brotkunsthalle. They are all in Vienna, and Hilger Next, and now also the fourth one.
Bargasse.
Yeah, congratulations. We'll talk about it a little bit afterwards. And he has not only been collecting art, he is not just a gallerist, he is, how to say, a big supporter of artists, and last and not least, a big art lover. So,
that's the most important.
Yeah, Ernst, how are you today?
Very good. We saw some very good shows.
Yeah.
We saw we heard some interesting introductions, and we could sleep a little longer, so it's perfect.
Because you made a special, you visited yesterday a lot of galleries.
Yes, for me, Ljubljana is always a pot where I draw a lot of energy. And for me, Ljubljana was always a place to learn, and a place to... I'm very much motivated by the whole of Slovenia. I did my first show in Maribor in the Soros Center, which is, oh my God, 18 years ago. And at that time, I was still one of those people that didn't know anything about Slovenia. And I said in my introductory note, this is my first trip to the east. And the people started to yell and said, but Vienna is much more to the east than Maribor. Then I started to think, and it's true. Ljubljana is more west than Vienna in many ways. And this art weekend and also the activities here are much nicer than the ones that we have in Vienna. And also the museum here, the Kukrana, is much more beautiful than our museum. You can go in, right, and the people are there, and there's a bar there, and there's music there, and people like it. In Vienna, you have to go upstairs, and then it's not enough place, and there's not enough whatever. It's a misfit. Whereas here, Ljubljana is really a melting point and a drawing point. So I'm learning a lot here.
Yeah. Ljubljana is the last big adventure in Ljubljana, and it's really living. And as we are speaking about Cukrarna, we come to Alenka Gregoric.
She was my first curator 24 years ago,
yes,
and
so
I've always been in contact with Ljubljana. A little later I met this wonderful president of the museum, Splash, who's become a very good friend, and then Barbara, she selected the exhibition. I had nothing to do with the selection. She and Anke, she always says she's my list maker, But anyway, she takes care of my collection because
Anke,
I'm
yeah.
very disorganized.
Anke, lift your hand, please.
She's there in the back. Yeah. She doesn't want to be talked. She told me explicitly she doesn't want to be a curator, but she likes what I choose. So in a way, we have the same taste.
Yeah, she's a good advisor, I think.
She advises more than she thinks she
Yes.
does, but she doesn't want to be called advisor. Anyway, this exhibition that was chosen by Barbara is very much also one of the main, you feel very much what I'm trying to collect. I try to collect very, very few artists that are everywhere. I have some artists, of course, that I became friends over the years, like the Erwin Wurm and the Staudacher, that are famous in Austria, but that was only happen chance. And mostly I buy artists that are very early or in the beginning of their career. For instance, I made my first exhibition in Sarajevo in 2004, I think, or 2002. And there I bought this incredible triptych by Sheila Kamaric. She's become in the meantime very famous. But I kept this triptych, I did not follow up, but this triptych shows actually today is more actual than any other thing. It shows the three basic needs of human: light, bread, and water. This is what really, if we have all those three, then we can live. Then we can continue to live. Then we can continue to be humans. If these things are taken away from us, then we become dead. And when we become dead, we can't do anything. Or Angel Marcos, who is a Spanish photographer, and he spent a long time in Cuba. What did Barbara choose? The wreck of the never finished atomic reactor that the Russians built in Cuba. For me, this is a symbol of our times. Many things are not finished, but many things are dangerous. Behind me, you see the tapestry by Cameron Platter, one of the artists from South Africa. I had a curator, Claire Breukel. She selected for me many artists from South Africa and Middle America. He was also at the Biennale in Venice, one of the artists representing South Africa. And fucking hell is our time. For me, this is a symbol of our time. And it's so much what we do today and what is happening today that I thought that's wonderful that you choose it.
You know, you said that you don't have any focus in
No, I have
collecting.
no focus. I only
And that
react to art.
you just collect what you like and so. But
Yes.
I think you are much more than just no focus, because when Anke opened me your archive with 400 artists and
500.
Oh my God! And I don't know how much artworks. It was like tension. What to choose? I don't know why. And I went through the whole your archive, and I saw that you are in love in pop art, on one side, and on the other side, this is humor and so on, and on the other side is your love for special social engaged artworks with very strong stories behind, with real issues that are, well, these artists made these artworks before the today,
Possible,
but
yeah.
they are so, actual, and I think that they are, because of all these issues, topics, socially engaged topics, they are, universal forever. And I decided to choose these works that are talking about today's world. But I didn't know we come now to Ukraine. When we selected Anke, you remember, we will choose this and this. You said you can do whatever, you can choose whatever. We didn't know this was half a year. It was just like this time now.
Yeah.
We choose this, we make all the papers, and then we exhibited these works, and then came Ukraine.
Yeah.
And when I was on guided tour and guided people and we are talking about Shaila Kamaric.
Yeah.
It was like few days before what happened in Ukraine,
Yeah.
with the people and massacre on the street,
Yes.
with all this. So I think you have a special feeling and focus. Does this exhibition, as a collector, now when you see a little bit from outside, did you change anything about what will you collect? What will be your acquisitions for tomorrow?
No. For instance, I will continue to follow one Slovenian artist that I think is an amazing artist, is Miha Štrukelj. You see one work here. This is the first studio we visited, and I was I was important at this Biennale presentation in Venice. Alenka told me the state is paying part of we need some more money. I said, no problem, I will support it. And since that time I've collected his work, and again I've bought new works from him because I think he should be and he is an international artist. Sometimes too much international for me, because he has been on grants and on residencies all over the world. Mm-hmm. But I said, now do less residencies, let's do more international galleries. But he has been everywhere. He's been in China, in America, he's been in different cities in Europe. It's crazy, because he should also be famous there, but he's not, as he was always in a sort of bubble of the residencies. But he drew all the energies from there. And so...
What do you suggest to our collectors, gallerists in Ljubljana, how to support, promote artists and Slovenian art? Because
the first thing is you must fall in love with art. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then, contrary what all the curators tell you, don't buy art because it will become famous one day. Only buy it if you really love it. If you really love it, then you can also buy art that will become famous. Mm-hmm. But the problem is really, when you get rid of it, when you sell it, it breaks your heart.
Oh, you didn't tell me yesterday this. You said...
Of course it breaks my heart, but on the other hand, I think art should be seen by everybody. Yeah. And I think it should not stay within my storage or in my room. Somebody here, I don't remember who, because my memory is very short, said a collector is only a collector if he has double the pieces that can hang on the wall, like the wall and, you were there, you said that. Well, I think I can hang maybe 200 flats. And I think when I started the gallery in the beginning of the 70s, people came to my gallery with a piece of cloth and said, this is my couch. Would you have something you should hang over the couch? That is the wrong way to go about it. You have to fall in love with the work. And then it's very important to follow the artist. Because if you buy something, you must know more about them. So I had the great chance to have several people advising me in the sense that they talked with me. I'm not taking advice, I'm not buying what some advisors tell me, but sometimes I get good ideas. And Alenka, you know, your colleague, she brought me to Irvin. And now I have several Irvin in my collection, and I had yesterday at the evening, I had a long talk with one of the Irvins, and he promised me that I would get another piece that I wanted a long time. And it was never shown and never exhibited, not at Gregor Pottner or anywhere else, but I will get it. And then we went to, I think also that, you say what is important. You have now a museum that shows Slovenian art. That's very important. Mm-hmm. I know it's also important to show international art, but it's much more important at the same time to show art that is created here. Mm-hmm. Because, for instance, in France, every of the big old artists gets his exhibition at the Pompidou or at the Ville de Paris, and it's something they work towards. When they're 70 or 75, they know if they're really good, they will get an exhibition at the museum. And I think it's an aim to have. And if you're not respected in your own country, how can you be sold and bought in your own country? So you need this support of the official, not the support that to get money for a catalog or something. That's nice. But the support means you are accepted by a museum and you're shown by a museum. And all these artists that I have been accepted at their home. Maybe they're not accepted in our museum, but our museum likes to have names that are everywhere. It's okay. They do what they want, I do what I want. Anyway, I think you can also say one of my tendencies, I have a lot from the East.
Yeah.
And I think the art that is created here between Slovakia, Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia, and even Albania, it has strength. Mm-hmm. And it has strength because it's not so watered down by commercial. On the long run, they will all become commercially successful. Yeah. But it's much more nice to buy them or to collect them before they become successful. Yeah. Because then they are really happy about you. And they talk with you and they give you their inner thoughts.
They're cheaper.
Thank you.
Okay, that's you. That's
But
you
you
with
said
the budget. I don't have a budget. I spend everything I have.
So you said to me when I asked you what is in the current times more the best investment right now? This is.
I have no idea.
You
I'm
said
not a
to
bank.
me art and.
Art is because art you have on the wall and you see it and it makes you happy.
So you, let's be sincere, you are collecting art in terms of returning, it returns some kind of life back. And also it's financial return. If you buy it cheaper directly by the artist, not in a gallery.
I love to buy in galleries, but only when they're young.
Okay.
And when they're famous, I'm not interested in them anymore.
Okay.
Because when they're famous, they get bought by many others. I'm the one that supports the people when they start.
Yeah.
Of course, one should always buy in galleries because works of art should be shown.
Yeah.
And they should be seen.
Yeah.
That's also the reason why I said I'm very happy. This is my fourth group show or something like that. And every time the curator choose exactly as he or she wanted. I never said, take this or take that. Only when I was asked, I said, these are the artists I love specifically.
Okay, we'll come to Aero a little bit later.
Yes.
But we stay with the Slovenian artists because it's a lot of them. It was difficult to choose all of them for the exhibition. We selected Irvin and Miha Štrukelj. But you have a lot of them. You were on the tour yesterday.
Yes.
Through the different very good places, meet a lot of artists, and today you were on a very good tour through some interesting galleries and so on.
Very interesting exhibitions, but I'm not so strong on photography.
Okay. But did you focus on some artists that you really like to follow now?
Well, about the names you have to ask Anke. I just buy art.
Okay.
I don't buy names.
So you bought yesterday something in Dobra Vaga.
Several works.
Several?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't notice. Where did you? Cool.
But one I hope I will get that is hanging in the museum, but you said you would contact the young lady.
Stina Dobrajc. Yeah, she's a great painter.
Anke knows the name.
Yeah.
I just remember the painting. The painting is in my head all the time, and whenever I close my eyes, I see the painting. It's not a nice painting. It's actually a painting that is very negative. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's nice.
Yeah.
And then I bought a little work at the Dobra
Vaga.
I'm coming here for 24 years, but this language is for me impossible. Luckily, when I first came here, nobody spoke English, some spoke Italian, nobody spoke German. Now, luckily, everybody speaks a little English or more English, and so I can communicate. But 24 years ago, so I was with my hands and feet, and I said, I want this, I want that, maybe this.
Okay. Ernst, you said, I have so many questions. I don't know.
Yeah,
We will not
ask
go
me
through
every-
all of them today.
I'm talking too long, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, it's perfect. This is the aim of the talk. You said 25 years you are already connected to Ljubljana. What changed from the start until now? I mean,
It's so
art
vibrant
market.
now.
It's vibrant.
But
It's different.
this is a city. Sometimes I would hope for Vienna to be a little as Ljubljana. There's so much energy here and so many people really believing in what they do. And
But art market, what do you think about it? I mean, it's not a lot of
actually, I'm
spaces.
not interested in the art market so much. I mean, I tried to sell enough in my gallery and that functions and for 54 years. But art market is such a bad word. It's you believe in artists, you show him, you defend him against your visitors, collectors, art lovers, and if you're lucky, you find people that love the work as much as you do. And you live by that. You get your percentage, and that's it. And that's the way it is. But the art market in itself, it's very diverse. What I hear, there is a market for the very young. Want, of course, the galleries that are very young, established older galleries or long-term galleries like mine, or sometimes they are very interesting for the collectors or for the buyers. Sometimes this is a different generation. And this is I'm always telling this story, but I can tell it very, 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 very clear. For a couple of months ago, a young lady came from her company and said, you have been recommended very highly to me. And I said, who recommended me? She said, my grandfather. I'm not telling the whole story, I'm just telling part of the story. Okay? And so, this is what happens when you have a gallery a long time. But if you do it and stay active and stay contemporary, you're interesting for the young generation as well as for the older generation. But of course, many of my collectors are no longer there, but many of their families are still connected with the gallery. So I can still pay my bills.
Great. What do you, Boris Groys once said that art collecting, music collections are kind of time machines. Something comes, something goes. It's like, you have to decide when to sell or give away some artwork, and another one comes in, and sometimes collections, private collections, are better than museum collections.
Well,
and they are taking, as I see your collection,
different.
What I was surprised is that when I saw your collection, Anke is taking great care about lists, inventory numbers, like everything about artists and so on. Archive is very good, and all artworks are very good preserved. There is no big, sometimes it's the question of where to put all these artworks.
Well, I have the chance that I bought a big former bread factory, a part of the bread factory, and there we have a storage.
Oh, because in museum, in public collections, there is always problem with the storage. You don't have, you still don't have a problem.
Yes, you do. You have a storage problem.
Sorry, this is Anke knows best. So I'm only buying smaller works most of the time.
So we come, something public. When I saw your works in collection, there is a lot of classical medias like paintings, graphics, and we come to this question. I always try to find out.
Yes.
And I don't know if I get the right answer till now. You have Ivana Franke. This is amazing installation work.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
I just
one of the best.
fell in love with it.
Yeah. So you said to me that you want to collect things that you can enjoy them every day in everyday life, not that they are dead somewhere in the
That's true.
in the store. So how do you enjoy Ivana Franke?
I close my eyes.
Oh, you told me yesterday. So her work is in the crate.
Yes.
And how many times did you see this installation until now?
3 or 4 times, no?
So exhibitions are important for you? Because...
I'm very honored and I'm very pleased to be here and also to be exhibited here. But other than that, I'm very happy to have the things.
Yeah. What do you mean have? Owning?
To own them.
Why?
Because a collector wants to own.
Wants to own. Okay, I read one very nice, where I have this. Clifford James said, whether a child collects model or some things when he is young, sooner or later he or she will be encouraged to keep the possessions on shelf in a special box or to set up a dollhouse. Personal treasures will be made public. Then passion from the Egyptian times and so on. You said to me that your art collecting is like collecting shells on the beach. That it's like, collecting memories, something.
Well,
Do you remember?
It's a diary.
It's a diary.
All the pieces I remember. I still remember where this Irving, for instance, was hanging at my colleagues. I bought it at Greta Insam Gallery, who represented Irving at the time in Vienna. She had 2 Irving hits here. And one is still at home and the other. And I was so fascinated by it. And I said to myself, I've never seen anything like it. I must have it. And she sold it to me, gave me a discount, and I bought it. Well, of course, discount is important.
Yeah, you said that it's important for you that artwork and artist is, you have a lot of very good connections with artists. Connections are very important. And also that what is important for you, that artwork shows you some different perspective.
Also, but what you say about connections is what I told myself when I began the gallery. The most important thing is to pay the artist.
Yeah, this is, Slovenia is now...
I mean, if you have a gallery and you sell a work and you don't pay the artist, that's the beginning of a downfall. So
what do you think about the galleries where the artworks are acquired into the gallery in the commission that galleries don't pay?
Yeah, well, I have a lot in consignment. Yeah. I cannot buy everything. Yeah. But the moment it is sold, we pay. Yeah. Sometimes we pay when we can, even when the client says, I buy it, and it doesn't pay right away, we pay the artist right away. But we believe in very correct bookkeeping. Mm-hmm. Did you find any of your works that you already sold? That you sold? Sorry for my grammar. So just correct me. That's why I'm professor.
Can you share with us from where you started your career as a collector? Do you remember the point when you felt like a collector? I mean...
I felt never like a collector. You told me that I'm a collector.
Okay, perfect. Then you tell me what was your first artwork, maybe. Do you remember?
I remember everything, but the first things I bought I don't have anymore.
When I met you first time, I posed you some questions and you said, "Oh, don't ask me boring questions." And I told you, I will ask you 10 boring questions like on, skiing. And journalists always ask these boring questions like, how do you feel, and so on. But really, so you do not remember.
I remember everything. I don't remember people, but I remember every piece of art I ever had. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, in the very beginning, I was greatly fascinated by Vienna fantastic realism. that was easy because at that time you couldn't study art, you just started. And I was fascinated because, and I was fascinated by these wonderful lines and everything. But in a short time I found out that this is very superficial. So I got rid of all my first acquisitions.
Read of all.
Well, I sold it somehow.
Wow, yeah.
And at that time it was easy to sell. And then...
That was in when? 70s?
70s, yeah. And then I had an artist that influenced me a lot, and he later on left my gallery, but he's dead now a long time, but he was very strong, and he really thought every artist was not good. So I knew that that was exaggerated, but he was very critical of everything I did. And we had long talks, and I bought works from him at auctions and everywhere to have things. We were more friends than art dealers. And by the way, my first art fair was in Washington.
When?
Wash Art, 76.
Wow, yeah.
And I showed his black and white drawings. They were all ape heads. And the people came to my booth and said, I'm a racist. Because they thought I had just made images of black people. But these were just apes. And in Vienna was no problem. So I sold nothing. But my neighbor was Gallery Ulysses, and they had Hundertwasser, and he was bored at the fair, and he told me, you get a percentage when you sell from my booth. So I sold enough Hundertwasser to pay for my booth.
Oh, great.
But that was 76, like I said.
Yeah.
And when this artist, for private reasons, left my gallery, I was, in a way, without somebody, a sparring partner. I needed a sparring partner, always needed a sparring partner.
Why?
You need somebody that you can fight about art. You can discuss art. You can say, and he brings ideas, and you get ideas, and then you talk about it. And then I started to work for one of the most prominent Austrian sculptors, and I found out that many people didn't like him, which I didn't care. I still have a lot of his work, and you didn't choose one of his works, but that's okay. You didn't like it. That's, for me, that's perfectly okay. And then there came some younger artists. I mean, they are all like now. They're all older now. At that time, they were young artists. And I started to work with them, and I went to Basel with them for many years, 35 years. And I made very strong presentations. Many times not successful, many times successful. But at that time also we got subsidies from the state. So it was easier to go to fairs. Anyway, my first work that I bought was a Heilbein. And I'm still ashamed, but I have to tell it. Because he's now a Scientologist and makes only kitsch paintings.
Okay.
So I haven't had one of his works for many years, but the first painting I bought was one of those children that cut their arms. And I paid it in installments, but that's a long time ago.
You said that, I forgot what I wanted to ask you. Sorry.
Ask me.
Get through. You said public is important. This is also exhibition. This exhibition is also because of this, that this triangle, artist, collector, public, is very important, because if the artworks isn't between us, if it is without audience, it doesn't work. Is it that?
That's what I think, yes.
Yes.
And I think the collector is a danger to the artist.
Yeah.
If he doesn't show the work.
Yeah.
Because the moment I buy it, it's hidden. So I told Anke already some years ago that we really have to make public presentations and loan works and give works, and we gave 50 works, no more, 100 works, 200 works to the museum in Vienna.
The Musa, I think it was 500.
500 works. So
Well, we come now to donations. As you are not just collector, gallerist, art lover, and so, and you are a big donator. Because before we come to MGML, could you explain us what did you do a few days ago for Ukraine? Although
No,
you
no.
said you don't want to talk
No,
about
no.
it, but I think it's very important to say that.
You promised not to say too many good things about me.
No, because they had Ernst choose few artworks and they were sold on auction in Dorotheum, and many money that was raised was donated for Ukraine. Yeah? And another thing is that also one work is already donated to MGML collector. So we will have Sarah Rahbar in our collection.
Yeah, you told me.
I think it's very good that works are circling around. So
Yes.
what do you think about? You can.
I just said yes.
What is important for you? We have art fairs, we have auctions, we have galleries and direct connections with artists. How do you connect all these events? You are always on somewhere else. What is the most important basis for collecting?
My heart.
Your heart.
Yeah.
What do you think about these epidemic years?
I gained some weight.
Okay, because some collectors really had the problems with money and so on, because there was no events.
But I couldn't go anywhere, so I didn't spend any money.
But shows like art fairs and so.
They didn't happen.
They didn't happen. What about this virtual art fair? You didn't.
No, I'm
what do you
not-
think about this?
Well,
It's.
to be honest, we were the first gallery in Europe to have an internet site, and we were the first gallery to have a computer in the end of the 70s, and we had an email address in the beginning of the 90s, and but what is now happening now is too much for my head. So I'm not. My wife is doing Instagram. I'm not doing Instagram anymore because it makes me nervous. And actually, on my iPhone, I get like email, Instagram, instant messages, whatever. It's too much, so I don't look at it anymore. It's just making me nervous. My gallery knows that they can call me, or they write me a text and I read it. But when you get 4 different media, you never know which media is just used, and it's too much. It's also, I've been asked many times about the NFT.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want the works to be available.
Yeah.
I want to touch them, and I want to hang them, and I want to own them. I have no problem with reproduction, but the reproduction rights are always with the artist. So it's not my topic. You know about the reproduction rights here. You wrote to all of them to ask for the catalog.
Yeah, this is the question of authorship. These are quite difficult issues. What do you think? What is this moral right? Artists have moral right on every reproduction?
Yes.
Although you own the work.
I have no problem with it.
But we have to get all the permissions then as a museum.
Actually, what I think is museums should have exceptions.
Yeah.
But the law is like it is.
The law is like it is, yeah. What public do you get any return from public? Somebody do somebody get in contact with you and give you feedback or something like?
My dear colleague, Mr. Knoll, who was here yesterday, he wrote that he saw the show and he liked it.
No.
That's the only reaction I got.
Okay.
So, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you never told me. Were there many people here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Good.
And we made also a catalog. Could I ask somebody from the gallery to get a catalog just to show it?
Yeah, but it's downstairs. Yeah.
Yeah. So that we show the catalog. We are already 45 minutes. I'm sorry, I didn't. Okay.
It's okay.
Let me see if I have
Whatever
some.
you need to ask.
Yeah. We did. I think we did everything. What would you suggest to the newcomers?
What is newcomers?
Newcomers, I mean new galleries, emerging gallerists, young collectors. What you suggest? I mean this support for the artists and so. Did you make any big mistakes in your life? Because you said
Many.
You said that this exhibition and your collection is a diary of fails and successes. So, is something that is your mistake, or something that is your very good success that you maybe share with us, and to maybe
Actually,
to advise newcomers?
if you love what you do, you cannot you make no mistake. I mean, sometimes you get you make an exhibition that you think you shouldn't have done, but I mean it's still part of you.
Okay.
And I think you should just do what you want to do. That's the real thing of having a private gallery. If you don't have a private gallery, then you have to do other things. But when you're a private gallery, you do what you have to do.
So, final question, sport question. What are your future plans for the future?
I have no plans.
Perfect.
Whatever happens, happens.
And whatever happens in art, so you will follow?
No, we will have, in September, we will have a wonderful Miha Strukek show, and we will try to be one of the first real bridges between Vienna and Slovenia. And my dear friend Blaž just agreed to make the introduction. And we will have a lot of international exhibitions. And I think we go on.
Okay, perfect.
We don't stop.
So here is the catalog. Here is are reproduced all the works, not all, those that we are allowed to reproduce. So you can buy it downstairs, and not you will get them. But you will buy some of them also.
Of course, 100.
Now I leave you the stage. I mean, we are open now. I will not ask you any more questions.
Good.
Because it was. I have a lot of them, but time is running, so
Good.
we can now a little bit open the talk. So if you have any questions, please. Somebody must start, so let's wait.
Well, if nobody starts, then there's no more question and answers. Everybody seems very happy, which is good too.
How about the fairs in general? I mean, we have Basel, we have this,
Yeah.
that, Paris, Madrid. How do you feel there? I mean, what is, for instance, in recent time, a fair which is important besides this?
But it depends on what kind of art you have. If you have very expensive, very famous art, then Art Basel is a good fair. If you don't have very expensive art, then maybe Artissima or Liste or any of those other fairs are interesting, or also Vienna. But for Art Basel, you need really the heavies, because you spend a lot of money for your booth, and you need to have things that bring in the money. But I mean, there's also the fairs in New York. There's Fries, there's Tefaf, there's so many other fairs. I mean, when we started many years ago, there were like 4 fairs. There was Cologne and Basel and FIAC, and now there's like 350 fairs all over Europe.
Great.
And it's crazy, and I think it's, on one side it's good because it gives a chance to many galleries to exhibit. On the other hand, it's getting very, very difficult for the collector to decide where to go. I mean, if you want to buy the big names, then you go to Basel. If you want to look and find something that is not yet expensive and not yet maybe famous, you go to Volta, or to Liste, or to many others of the surrounding fairs. Also, the Vienna Fair is always a good place, and the Spark Art Fair is a very good place because they have these one-man shows or one-woman shows, and you can really get an idea what the artist does. It's difficult. It's really very difficult to say which fair is the best. My dear colleague, Mrs. Grinzinger, she goes to all the big fairs, but she sighs a lot about the expenses. But then she has artists that are very expensive, so somehow she can make ends meet. But I mean, we all think about the times when the Minister of Commerce paid 2/3 of our booth. That's a long time ago.
But still, Austria or Wien, the city supports?
Not the fairs anymore. No. We get something like 5,000 or 6,000 euro per fair, if it's a recognized fair. But usually, just a smaller fair is 30,000, 40,000 euros. So it just pays for the transport. And now, with the new laws and the new life everywhere, transport has skyrocketed. And I mean, one good explanation is, for instance, I have a lot of Cameron platters from South Africa. I would not have so many. I love the work, but I would not have so many. But the transport to South Africa many times was more expensive than buying the work. So I just decided I buy the work and keep it. Because just send it back and not have the work would have been too expensive. So in the end, I'm very happy. And they came to me when they had the Biennale and borrowed one of my works, because I was near Venice and South Africa was very far away. So some arguments are different. But the fairs, I really think one has to decide before what one would like to show and what is the value of the works that one shows, and what is the possibility of somebody who is really expensive and has a lot of money to buy the work. Otherwise, a fair is...
Fair. Another question, please?
I wanted to know, how did you get into art? Or when was the moment when you realized, wow, art, this is where my heart belongs? Do you remember that moment?
This is very difficult. Because when I started, there were no possibilities of studying art or anything, because art history was at that time ending at Biedermeier or at the Romantic. So, I mean, there was nobody taught you anything. So I've studied economics, and I was cultural deputy for the student body, and I organized concerts and everything. And the secretary of the student body knew that I was always interested in new projects. So one day she called me and said, there is a young man who has this idea of making cheap prints for students, and he needs somebody who helps him. And I said, it's wonderful, let's do it. So we started in a nightclub every Thursday, every first Thursday, and the prints were 20 euro. And all the artists, you had to have your student passport, otherwise you couldn't buy. They were like 20 euro. There was Arno Vreiner for 20 euro, and Rudlička, and all the other famous artists, even international artists, they all wanted to participate. The editions were like 200, and that was always sold out. There was long queues in front of the of the club of people waiting to buy one work, because 20 euro was even then not a lot of money. So very soon we had more collectors, buyers. Then we had editions, so we made 2 editions from each artist, and we started to go in the countryside. So we had a representative in Salzburg, in Graz, and in Innsbruck. And then one day the representative from Salzburg said, look, this goes so well, let's have a gallery. And then the one from Graz said, I have opened the gallery already. And then the guy from Tyrol said, I've just opened and I will do my own editions with the Tyrolean artists. I like the idea because we had no copyrights or anything at that time. So then we opened the gallery in Vienna. And I opened my space in Vienna on 15th April 71. That I will never forget. And yeah, somehow I started to be a gallery, and somehow I liked it more than anything else. In the beginning, I still organized concerts with famous artists, like we had Hannes Wader tours and things like that. Really good concerts. Like I drove with the artist, and in the back of the car was the magnifiers and everything. And then I went to the hall where he was singing and set up the electric things. And then I sat at the entrance, collected the money, and he was making the concert. And afterwards I put everything away and we drove on to the next city. That was nice, but so you want the not true reason why I became into art? The not true reason is that I said if a concert is not sold out, the money's gone. But if you have a painting or have an edition, you have, even if you don't sell it out, you still have it. But that's not true. The real thing is that art became so strong for me that I didn't do any concerts anymore. And by the middle of the 70s, I was already having this gallery with everything running, and people that came. Many of the people that today are famous collectors or famous directors of companies and have introduced art in their companies, they have been buyers at our first editions. But now of course is a new generation and the next generation, so our influence is now less than it was like 20 years ago. But at a certain time, about 80% of the people that were involved in the arts were clients of us. I mean, they were students and they bought art. So that's the way I started.
Okay. Thank you all. That's
Thank you.
it.
And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
And I must always say, whatever you hear, Ljubljana is magnificent.
Nice was talking to you. I mean, like this. Perfect.
Was it good?
Good. I think it was good. I don't know. I have a good feeling.